What's up everyone, Mindhacker here with a Clash of Clans video. Today I'll give you some tips and tricks that will help you regardless of the strategy you're using. They are the result of my 5 years of playing the game, and I consider myself to be better at the game than most casual players, so you can trust on me, okay? With that out of the way, let's get into the first tip. I'm pretty sure we've had our fair share of our main force not going to their intended targets. My main force, I mean E-Dragons, Root Riders, Hybrid, Lolo, etc. The obvious solution is to funnel them, but I want to go one step further by improving the way you deploy the army directly. Now let's get into more specific stuff. We have to make two categories, wide entry and narrow entry. As the names imply, they describe the width of your main force's entry should be. If you want your daily dose of numbers in your YouTube video, a wide entry can be from a third to a half of the width of the base layout, and a narrow entry is around 2 to 3 buildings in width. So which army is more suitable for each kind of entry? You want to use wide entries for troops with relatively high DPS, either with high HP or used in small numbers, or with low HP but used in high numbers, for example E-Dragons, Dragons and Lolo. Gosh, that feels weird putting them in the same sentence. Anyway, on the other hand, narrow entries are used for troops with medium to low HP and DPS, used in medium to low numbers. Some representatives from this group are Hybrid and Root Riders. So now you know which troops are suitable for which entry, but how do you deploy them exactly? For wide entries, the rule of thumb is that you want to deploy troops on the outer ends of the entry first, then those on the inside. The idea is to let those you deploy first attack first, and that will make your troops more likely to path their way to the inside of the base and not the outside to spend the rest of the attack taking out trash buildings. For narrow entries, since the entry's width is only 2 to 3 buildings, you want to deploy your army directly towards those buildings in groups simultaneously. That's about it for a first tip. Let's jump right into the second one. How you use your spells can be the make or break of your attack, therefore it's important to maximize the value you can get from them. I don't want to drag this video on forever, so I'm going to focus on only 3 spells this time: Zap spells, Earthquake spells, and Rage spells. The more straightforward ones are the first 2 spells. Just hit as many targets with them as possible. You want to be especially careful when there are battle builder huts around. As for Rage spells, when you do attacks without healers, you want to cover as much space where your army can utilize them to attack defenses as possible. When you do use healers, it's more important to make sure the healers are raged up for as long as possible to keep your army alive. The third tip to give you is always bring at least one headhunter to your attacks. They help you deal with backhand heroes in spam attacks, and if you end up not using them for that reason, they are still decent cleanup troops, so there's no reason not to bring at least one of them to your attacks. Also, since you already made an effort to bring headhunters in your attack, you should also practice sending them at the right moment. That will definitely help your queen charges and hero series. Queen charges and hero dives are the perfect segue to my next tip: have faith in your army, but only the right amount. And by that, I mean you need to know how much each part of your army can get by themselves or combined, in order to avoid overkilling or overestimating. I believe we've all seen someone throwing their entire army towards the town hall and all of them die just after getting the town hall. That's classic overkilling. The only way to avoid this is to play with more risk, per se. Even when you think your hero can't take that section alone, you should still send them in alone anyways. That you'll make it all the value you want to your surprise. Yes, you may fail horribly many times, but learning through failures is still a form of learning. As for overestimating, it's on the rare side due to the example I just gave you. Beginner queen charge players tend to have this problem of overestimating. They want the queen to get tons of value, so they spend a lot of time focusing on her instead of initiating other parts of the attack. That leads to either time failing or a straight up power fail as they realize the time mismanagement, panic, and ultimately mess up the attack. And while we're still on the topic of having faith, you should have faith in yourself. Even I would horribly don't even know you have faith in you, so you should as well. As they do more attacks, they will eventually learn to manage their time better or switch back to E-Drax and Mad Zap spells. If you're in Legends League, then you must have seen multiple bases with defending heroes near the outside of the base. The main reason behind such moves is to discourage the attackers from using the Flame Flicker in those sessions. Except, you can snipe those heroes in 2 steps. Step 1. Make sure there isn't too much DPS in front of that defending hero. If there's too much DPS there, just give up. Otherwise, proceed to Step 2. Use temporary distracting troops and immediately deploy 2 headhunters to snipe them. Here's the table for how many troops are required to execute this trick. Sniping the king is especially hard since it's very tanky and you don't want any external DPS interrupting you. If you're not confident that you can use archers and goblins to distract the defending hero, you can still use giants to do the same job, but it won't be as efficient. That's all I have to say in this video. I hope the tips and tricks I showed you will help you improve your attacks. If you want a guide on Zap Lalo, I've got just the one for you. Once again, this is Mindhacker, signing off.